Hello, my friends on YouTube. How are we doing today? I am Wardy. I feel like my mic was just a little loud. Just going to bring that down a little bit. And we've got another YouTube exclusive cast from you. We're going back to the Olimoleague, and we have got a little bit of a different series from the Olimoleague. Usually Korean versus Korean players. This one's going to be Korean versus a player who lives in Korea but is actually from Mexico. To the bottom right, our Korean Zerg is Solar in the red, representing Triumphant Song Gaming. And in the top left-hand side, our Blue Terran player, SpeCial, from Ocean Gaming. He is obviously from Mexico, but lives out in Korea, so playing in the Olimoleague. Solo, we got actually a bunch of replays I want to cast from Solo. There's a Solo Fantasy series I want to cast in the next couple of days as well, so keep your eyes open for that. As we have a little bit of chat between the players initially. I think what SpeCial is saying is he 2-raxed against Dream in the previous round, and he went, I guess the way he's trying to say this is he controlled like Maru, and he basically, because of that, won the game, and Dream's a bit angry because he actually had a good build order against it, so... Of course, guys, if you do enjoy these videos, as always, do hit the hit the like button. And don't forget you can subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We're trying to put out as much YouTube content as possible right now in terms of quality. The highest quality possible and once a day, so doing a lot of YouTube casts instead of just uploading games that aren't as great from the stream, so hopefully you guys getting behind it. I've definitely seen a big rise on the subscribers, viewers, and everything on the YouTube the last few days especially, so thank you so much for that. Glad you're enjoying the content. Let's keep it going. Let's keep pumping out StarCraft 2 for you guys. So yeah, back to the Olimoleague. This is from weekly number 168, so obviously pretty recent. The meta right now in TvZ is in a bit of a weird space, because we've just had, not so long ago, the patch that made the Pneumatized Carapace upgrade cheaper, and so a lot of Zergs started to build into Pneumatized Carapace, and because of that, a lot of Terran build orders that go aggressive are getting scouted, and because of that, the Terrans are like, well, actually, it's not really worth it for me to go aggressive, because what do I gain out of this? Well, nothing at all, really. So, instead, now what we're seeing is the Terrans saying, well, I'm just going to play greedy. 3 CCs, not really anything too crazy at all. Just get my economy up and running. Typical kind of Hellions, maybe a Liberator to harass alongside a Viking, but mostly just going into the macro game and playing into bio. And so because of that, what the Zergs have started to do is they've started to take a stance where it's like, well, if they're not going to be doing anything that I need to scout, why should I invest money into scouting early in the game as well? And so they've stopped building Pneumatized Carapace, and because of that, we have seen some Battlecruiser builds coming back into action. Now this is going to be SpeCial, going for the 3rd CC very quickly in this game, no second gas. So like I said, this is kind of typical before the Zerg stopped scouting again. You can see he started scouting again, and you can see here that Solar is obviously getting himself into a position to not scout. He's not going Pneumatized Carapace. So that is a little bit of a win for Solar, because actually investing in 75-75 to see this is not really worthwhile at all. This is actually very weird for SpeCial. He's going to continue into Marine production rather than swapping off in towards Hellions. So Marines number 2 and 3 on the way out here in a moment. The Zergling from Solar wandering across towards the main base, and a Marine is there to pretty quickly shut that down. Zergling will fall as a mule drops down on the natural mineral line as well. Barracks moves off the reactor, going to drop down that factory onto the reactor as well. Starport about to finish up in the next few moments here, as we do see Link Speed, Pneumatized Carapace, all of this going to be finishing in the next few moments. Marines are going to chase away this Overlord down the bottom side of the main. And again, those extra Zerglings just going to run over, and, well, they're going to try and go after the mule there. The SCV is pulling back as well, as the Marines will be able to pick off an extra couple of Zerglings so far. So good. Fusion core dropping down from SpeCial. So actually, he is still going to go Battlecruisers. Off of 3rd CC is super greedy, because not only are you pumping your economy, you're also pumping that tech. And right now, imagine Solo was going for something like a roach roll in. It'd be hitting in the next minute or so. SpeCial would have nothing ready. He'd be in so much trouble. Usually against a roach roll in, you can defend with the BC if you can keep the BC at home, etc. But in this scenario, SpeCial would just have to start making a Banshee, because there's no way that Battlecruiser would ever get up, and even then, a Banshee would be very late in this, unless he was somehow able to scout. But, he did lose the Reaper early, which is also a bit of a shame. Generally, when you lose that Reaper early on, you can actually punish it as a Zerg player by going and just saying, okay, well, now you don't know if I'm going to all-in you, and that's when you can get a roach roll in to be very successful. So, SpeCial, especially because of that, is quite fortunate that Solar decided not to be aggressive here, because he would have done a lot of damage In the end, though, SpeCial's greed for now is at least going to pay off, as we see Hellions and Marines pressing forwards. Queen's going to take a bit of damage to start this, as well as this one Hellion. No, sorry, this one Queen pulls all the way back. SpeCial has drone potential here, and he's going to get one. I'd like to see some more, though. Now, this feels like really not the maximum he could have got out of this. He gets about 4 drones, but obviously he had so much potential there, but instead he was kind of targeting some Lings and Queens, and I feel like he could have got the majority of workers over on this 3rd mineral line, so I do find that a little bit of a shock, because Solo's going to go super fast Spire, but of course we are up against a battlecruiser here, so it kind of makes sense. Solo's scouting has been to see the 3 CCs, and that's about it so far, but he might be able to recognize a couple of things with the build, such as Hellion timing, because SpeCial did stick with Marine production initially rather than going into Hellions, so there's a couple little things, and maybe Solo can kind of pick up on that. As this fast Spire, of course, I mean, it's going to be very good for making Corruptors against the battlecruiser. We'll see if that is indeed... I mean, the thing is, SpeCial should reveal this BC before Solo decides what to make on the Spire. I mean, there's a small chance here that perhaps Solo doesn't know it's BCs and he was just looking to go into faster Mutalisks. In which case, that would be kind of intriguing, as you just see the BC now. It kind of works out either way, right? If it's not a BC, boom, you can make Mutalisks. If it is a BC, you can make Corruptors. So you can kind of just adapt based on what you see, and I guess that's probably one of the choices that he then has with this build. If no BC ever shows up, boom, you've got Mutalisks on the map, and then probably in towards, you know, the Mutants, see what kind of tech it is, and then you can decide whether you want to play Roach Bane, Ling Bane, or just like a Roach Ravager style for that kind of defense, so, against the mech. Now this first BC, important to note, flew across the map and is flying in toward the main. This means that it's going to have a teleport to get out, so the Corruptors will be able to shut that down, but it will not be able to get the kill as the BC comes in. Gets quite a few of these drones here actually on the natural, and again, has the safety of the teleport to get out of there whenever needed. Now Solo didn't overcommit to Corruptors, so that's great, and also you can just sort of see, I mean, he's scouting now. He sees the starport's no longer on a tech lab, and that's why he's probably only making this first handful of Corruptors, because beyond that, what more does he need from the, Spire in terms of Corruptors? Well, he doesn't. If there's no more battlecruisers, he doesn't need 12 to 13 Corruptors like he might usually to try and really push those BCs back quickly. No, not at all. So Solo's got a really good scout here. Sees that it's just going to be pure mech, not really a lot in the air, and because of that, he's just going to respond very heavily with a ground composition of his own. As more Roaches continuing to pour out here. Hellions, a couple of Cyclones coming down the left side. Roaches do come forward and pick off a Cyclone there in the center as well. Hive continuing to build at the moment over in the main base. Hellions, a lot of them pressing forwards and going to be coming through. They're going to be able to get rid of this Queen as well. So another Queen falling. Solo, Queen, Roach, some Lings on the bottom side as well. Kind of spreading out and seeing where exactly can I kind of come in from at this stage. Going to see if he can get a bit of a surround on this army and really just punish it, because obviously this is the kind of army, Hellion Cyclone, that wants to kite all day. It doesn't ever want to take a straight up fight. It wants to lock on, get the heck out of there. So if you can get a surround, what starts to happen is obviously then you're able to get more shots off as this army tries to run away. They've got to run through the units, and obviously that becomes very, very painful to deal with. So Solo's doing the right sort of things with his army in terms of movement, in terms of setting up to try and catch this here. SpeCial will just continue to build into this. He is now starting to add on siege tanks as well, so we'll have some real buffer to this army. That single battlecruiser to kind of build as well. And as Solo goes into the Hive, the next real step for him really is probably a couple of Vipers. Abducts on either Cyclones or tanks are going to be great. Flying Clouds are never going to go amiss either. But also, once you hit Hive Tech, obviously some other options open. And with the Spire already alive, Greater Spire has to become an option too, right? And there's not a great army, obviously, to kind of deal with Broodlords at the moment. Obviously, eventually, SpeCial will be able to build Thors. He'll be able to build more air units. But right away, if Solo can sneak up to very fast Broodlords, that's absolutely something that can catch the mech player off guard a lot of the time. In fact, Red Spire is going to be his priority now that he's on this Hive. We don't see any Vipers yet. I would be surprised not to see a couple at least. Especially because siege tanks are now starting to come out, and Vipers just do so well. Even if you just blind and cloud the tanks, it gives you so much more potential in an engagement. As those Hellions and Cyclones come forwards, the Queen's locked onto. Will be going down. Roach Ravager still chasing up the left-hand side. There's more Corruptors in production. Obviously, we're at the stage now where Solo's going to want to start bringing the Broodlords out into play. So, getting a few more of those Corruptors up and running. There's +2 melee, +2 missiles on the way up on the Evo Chambers. We do have a 5th base up on the top side of Triton here. So, 5th base getting up and running as well. Cyclone's going to go and lock on towards the rocks here on the left side as Siege tank from SpeCial. Coming up towards the top, Hellion, Cyclone pressing forwards. Going to be able to grab a couple of creep tumors there. Roaches and Ravagers. Coming in towards the center, and again the BC coming over to the right-hand side. So continue to harass around, continue to see what else might happen in all of this over the next couple moments. Because honestly, SpeCial is continuing to push quite aggressively, but Broodlords coming out really should put an end to this. And again, SpeCial is not really set to deal with Broodlords just yet, so as we do have the 9 Broodlords in production, they're going to come forwards very soon. And I mean, if Cyclones can lock onto Broods and get out alive, it's great. But how on earth do you get to lock on with Cyclones and get out alive? That's almost, I want to say, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's very, very difficult. Like, very, very difficult. So, let's see. I mean, well, right away, the tanks and siege of Cyclones definitely not going to be in range, and they are going to be pushed back. So now SpeCial has to set up an anti-air army. He's building Liberators of his starport, but actually the real answer here is going to be just Vikings. As many Vikings as you can get. And the one thing you can add off the factories that really does help is the Thors. I mentioned that earlier, a few Thors goes a long way. And that's why if you can actually get up to like 2 or 3 Thors for the BC Broodlords first coming out, you can actually kind of fight them a bit better than you'd really kind of originally imagine, I suppose. Hellion Cyclone tank up the left-hand side. There's a couple of Ravagers will get taken down here. Roach Ravager coming around at the top, and while those Broodlords continue to lay down fire onto the siege tanks on that bottom left-hand side. In the center, the Corruptors are going to caustic spray down the CC. So the command center is going to lift and head up to the top side here. More Broodlords from Solar continue to head to the north. And the CC is actually going to go down. I mean, this is the issue. Solar's pressing forwards. He's not being defensive and slow with these Broodlords. He's just going to go. And the problem is from SpeCial, when these Broodlords come, if you can't fight them, you should be around the other side of the map counterattacking, forcing Solar to pull back or to take damage. Obviously, that's not happening at all. SpeCial's just here ready to greet this, and I don't really agree with it. I mean, we have the Corruptors to really fight in the skies. The first Thor coming in, but it's only the one. I mean, a few Corrosive Bars going down to help against the Battle Cruiser as well. As the Roach Ravager force is doing pretty well here. I mean, again, there is not really much left over. A couple of Thors coming in, but, well, the Broodlords can target those down, and now there's, the Hellbats are actually fighting the Roaches, so they're not even cleaning up the Broodlings very quickly. And so SpeCial just loses absolutely everything. A straightforward push-up from Solar. I'd just say this is good play by him. Good movement with the army. Good idea of what he wanted to do here. And even though SpeCial went greedy early game, it didn't really matter because Solar really deflected everything SpeCial did from there. And it's not like SpeCial took a load of damage or anything like that. He just had to be more prepared for these Broodlords, which he absolutely wasn't, and that's obviously very costly for him overall. As SpeCial will type out GG. He was starting to kill some Broodlords, but of course, what does that really matter here? As Solar is able to take down game number 1 of this best of 3 series. I believe this series was from the round of 16 or so pretty early on in the Olimoleague weekly. So yeah, just a little bit more information for you guys before we jump into a game number 2, and how about we just get straight into that here in the next couple minutes. Let's be right back. Game number 2 of our best of 3, going to be played out on Winter's Gate. In the top left-hand side, our red Zerg player from Triumphant Song Gaming is Solar. Up against the blue Terran player from Ocean Gaming. In the bottom right, we do have SpeCial. Game 2 of this best of 3 series, and, well, SpeCial didn't really do anything wrong per se throughout the game. Just wasn't ready for Broodlords at all, and if you're not ready for Broodlords, the game kind of ends. I would say he wasn't that great at actually being able to pick up damage with Hellion Cyclone, though. Typically with Hellion Cyclone, you do want to try and keep trading and put some pressure on the Zerg, and I would say it was surprising how easily Solar got up to Broodlords as well. I think that's just because, there wasn't enough battle cruisers to create pressure. The Hellion Cyclone was shut down easily. Solar just had a very good read on what was going on in general, and because of that, kind of responded correctly every step of the way, more or less. So, very, very interesting as we set this up. Command Center from SpeCial dropping down in the natural expansion. We do have an Overlord of Solar just coming up through the top. See where it can get to. Hatch gas and a spawning pool coming in here from Solar as well. Getting that ready to roll as the Overlord of Solar just moving around. Will be interesting to see if he goes Pneumatized Carapace this time or not. We'll see if SpeCial, obviously, because Solar didn't go Pneumatized in the first game, SpeCial may choose to go for a bit more of an aggressive, focused opener. Now, here on Winter's Gate, it's a very weird map. We've got these inhibitor zones to discuss as well, and This is kind of a less kind of crazy version of Neo Tokyo Turbo Cruise that was just on the ladder map pool for a little bit. As you see the CC dropping down on the natural Overlord from Solar still in the center of the map as well. Yeah, the inhibitor zones really make this map very interesting, and generally it just means you want to expand in a line as the Zerg. You can take a third base down over here, you can take a fourth down on the bottom. This base here becomes very abusable with the rocks, the slow zone. If you clean out the rocks, it's a bit more manageable, but typically it's a little bit rough. The one good thing about if the Terran pushes up in this position is you can come down here and flank in very easily, and come up here and go down there and flank up this side very easily. So it does give you an easy flank position. Whereas if a Terran pushes up this way and gets into this sort of position here, that flank's actually a lot harder to pick up on, because you can't really send units down here because the Terran has that sort of area covered a bit. Coming around this right side will be a bit more difficult because the Terran has 2 ramps on his side that he kind of will control as well, right? Pushing into the 30s in this kind of choked up area in general, whereas, yeah, you kind of got to push up these ramps here, but you've got 3 very easy angles of attack, whereas this is going to be like 1 angle of attack, which is going to be like somewhat mediocre. So that is the kind of one negative about defending bases in a line here. Now, I don't mind the 3rd base, but maybe the 4th. I guess the 4th is a whole different, conversation, right, Terran? If they expand here, it's a pretty quick push along the bottom over there, and so you can't really counterattack fairly easily as the Zerg. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I'm interested. This time we do see a pneumatized carapace upgrade, so getting that ready to go in game number 2 going to mean that Solo will have the scouting capability. Now, SpeCial has not gone 1 gas 3cc, instead he's got the 2nd gas up and running, so that commitment is going to mean a lot for him when it comes to just pumping out units here, and obviously even just getting the starport up that much faster this time around. It is just going to be a Liberator. We have seen more recently also the single starport unit being more popular. So back in kind of, again, a couple of months ago, TvZ, you'd actually very rarely see a single starport unit. It just didn't make sense. You'd have a lot of gas you wouldn't have spent. It just didn't really add up. Nowadays, single starport unit is kind of coming back as something that can work out. I'm actually going to see where the investment is going here from SpeCial as well and the rest of the gases. So he's not just going to go for only the Liberator. He is going to get a medevac as well, because he's going to go for a Hellbat Marauder attack. That, or is just, oh no, it was a fake out, complete fake out. Sorry, I saw that concussive shells, and you know what? He fooled me. He starts it again. He's just trying to fool the idea that this is Stimpack and Bios. He probably wants to play mech behind it, as the armory in the natural is yet to be scouted, and that's obviously a huge miss over in this natural expansion there. So missing out on that as the Liberator comes over the left-hand side. Overlord flying over as well. The armory finishing in the natural momentarily. A couple of queens very quick from Sulla to come down the left and to push that Lib away, keep it at bay, stop it from coming further forwards just yet. Hellbats from SpeCial will come in. They're going to go chasing down those queens. The Zerglings from Solar continuing forwards as well. Hellbats are doing a very good job of picking away at those queens. A few extra Zerglings will continue to drop. I mean, this is kind of a nice scenario. I love the Liberator positioning on this ramp, stopping the next queen from coming down here. Obviously, the Liberator will have to relocate now as the Hellbats start going down. The Queens are able to turn around and push that back, but I like this from SpeCial. Resources lost is even, but as a Terran, that's great because you forced units to be made to defend this, and he killed a lot of the units, and so extra Zerglings had to be made, which now don't really have much of a role in the game. Yeah, they can come across the map, but you know what? Those Hellions are already out as well. It's actually going to go into a Banshee follow-up, so here's me talking about all of that initial kind of one starport unit opener, but this is obviously more than that. Although that said, he did just go for the 1 Lib. He didn't build the medevac like I suggested when I saw the Hellbats. So yeah, it was just the Liberator and then into the Banshee just a little bit later on. Again, typically I would still say maybe Viking Liberator then into a Banshee is something that you would have used to have seen rather than this. I mean, Banshees, if you go into Banshees, usually you go kind of Banshees straight away in general, so what SpeCial might do is he does play mech, is he might go Hyperflight Rotors, although this factory is lined up to take this tech lab. Some players like to play the Hyperflight Rotors and to use the Banshees to kind of fill in the Battlecruiser role. So instead of having the Battlecruisers kind of flying around the map, harassing bases, etc., instead of that you have the Banshees, and with Hyperflight Rotors they are very quick to move around. But yeah, with the factory building where it was quite obvious it was going to lift up and go over towards this tech lab, as both of those factories are going to drop down there. 2 extra factories are going to drop in the main base as well. And the Banshees of SpeCial will continue out into the center of the map going up through the middle here into the top left. Roach Speed starting on the Roach Roar, and Spire dropping in behind the mineral line as well. So SpeCial just continuing with those couple of Banshees up to the top. The fourth hatch, well, that's on the way. He doesn't really want to spend his Banshee time on that. He wants to try and hit some drones. That is a dead Liberator in the back there. Yeah, getting some drones would be nice. He dodges that Overseer coming around the sides. That's good movement. And this is perfect. This is exactly what the Banshee should be doing. Gets a couple of workers, gets a Queen low, especially the gas workers, right? And that's a full drone pull. That's forced away from this mineral line for a few seconds, so that does affect the economy. And look at this, he's derping around a bit, so actually Solar still hasn't fixed that income straight away. So that actually works out quite nicely. And Overseer still hanging out in the main. The thing is, Solar has such great information. Again, he does know what he's up against. This time he built Mutalisks, so there's the difference for you. He built the Spire again, but this time going Mutalisks rather than Corruptors. It's a great example of kind of the versatility of that Spire here. And as he sees it, he knows it's mech, but he's going to play Lingbane Ravager against it. So getting that Baneling speed, he is going to commit into those units. And it can work. The Banelings crashing into Hellions and Cyclones can trade effectively. The Ravager's helping to push units back. It's a good combination. It definitely works out here as we do see Mutas fly into this main base. Obviously, all of Solar's decisions here are very well informed because his Overseer was scouting this main base throughout the entirety of the game so far. So he knows exactly what he's up against while building into these units. Although I wouldn't say those Mutas have done crazy damage right away. 4 SCVs and flying through the slow zone on the left side as they try to escape out becomes a bit costly as well. Now more SCVs going down again. 8, 9, 10 workers dropping. More Hellions in the center as we do see the Mutas going to go back over the left side. Infernal Pre-Igniter about to finish up from SpeCial. Infestation Pit going to be completing very soon as well. +1 missiles and melee. All of this building +1 flyer attack and Baneling speed. A lot of upgrades right now as well as a couple of Banshees going to pick up a couple of Zerglings. We do still have Mutalisks heading forward. Cyclones are going to get the lock-ons though, and love that scan. Unfortunately, it's not quite enough, but the idea was good, right? Scan, keep the damage on. Obviously, you need vision to stay locked onto the Mutalisks, and the vision of a Cyclone itself is not high enough to kind of make use of its entire range, similar to the Siege Tank or the Tempest. So Solar's army, it's not tacking up into Hive anywhere near as quickly. He's not going to hit Broodlords this game like he did last game. But he is on a very big economy. He's got 85 drones, so it's a lot of workers to utilize here to, trade with again and again. As Hellion Cyclone comes up to the top, Banshees come in and find a bunch of drones moving down through the main base and towards the natural, and then the third. That's kind of nice. I mean, these Banshees are kind of losing their kind of position in the game now, right? There's not much more for them to do, and just getting a few extra drones as they exit definitely makes the most of it. Ling's looking for a surround. Remember, those Hellions are blue flaming, so this should be a bit of a massacre. But honestly, I mean, the surround is doing a good job of keeping these units back for the Roaches and Banes to start getting in reach. And quite a few Hellions went down. I'd say a surprising amount, just the power of truly surrounding this army. Solar 162 to the 157 supply of SpeCial here. +1 melee and missiles finishing. Greater Spire will start from Solar in the back of this natural. So gets that going. 2 more starports on the way up in this main base as well. So getting that underway as we'll drop the Fusion Core. Now in this scenario, Fusion Core wouldn't expect it to be 4 BCs right away. He might just go into ranged Liberators. He could go BCs. I would just be surprised because I feel like at first you need to build up something to deal with the first wave of Corrupted Broodlord. And, a couple of battle cruisers coming out. They're not going to instantly be able to fight against 10 Corruptors, right? We see it all the time. 10 Corruptors are used to shut down battle cruisers, so Overseer coming in with the Mutalisks, and they actually do slow the starport production. The starport is on a tech lab, though, so it kind of suggests he is going to go into battle cruisers. He has a lot of money as well. I mean, if he can get there, fair enough, but I'm not convinced if he can, because now the Greater Spire is about to be done. And the thing is, he has nothing to support this either. Where are the Thors? Where is anything that's going to shoot up in the skies? This just doesn't exist. Again, the Cyclones don't get the job done. We saw that in game number 1. And that's why I would love to see the Thors being added in here. Just a couple. Help you get up to those BCs. They're going to be great against the Broodlords. We've seen it time and time again lately how good those Thors can do when there's a good number of them coming into play. Or at least a good number of them supported by something else. This starport delayed again. These Mutalisks have been extremely annoying as they're going to go for this tech lab. That will slow down the next battlecruiser out of that starport by just a little bit. It's actually really annoying. Again, the Mutas, like the Banshees, are kind of past their sell-by date in this game. And so may as well just get anything you can done with the rest of them here. Once that supply is freed up, boom, you can make some more, useful units at this stage. Corruptors are going to be that for Solar here. 6 of those in production. Hellions and Cyclones up the top side. We do see the couple of Queens wandering down. Cyclone's getting a lock on a 2, and Queen's taking damage. Lings, Roaches, and Banelings coming in from the north, as we're going to see a couple tanks sieging up as well. Solar's army moving back into the center, and SpeCial going all the way over to the right side. Corruptors and a Viper from Solar. Down into the center also as SpeCial goes up to the top. A few more creep tumors out here. Going to try and spread forwards, but those are going to get cleaned up pretty quickly by those Hellions as Broodlord's firing away. A siege tank goes down, and the Planetary Fortress is going to be in some trouble pretty much immediately there. So Planetary taking quite a lot of hits actually, will fall. Meanwhile, the Hellion army comes in up toward the top side here. Moving around a little bit. We've got Ling Ravager, Bane, Roaches as well. Continue to chase in towards this. I mean, this army on both sides is kind of scary, but overall, SpeCial just has a bit too much. Solar just has a bit too much. Again, there's not a proper counter to Broodlords out. And while this time I kind of like SpeCial's idea of getting across the map dealing damage, he's still not going to be stopping the army, whereas Solar was able to make a stop to what SpeCial was trying to do there. And this looks like Solar's going to take this as a 2-0. It's a shame, because while these weren't like super short games or anything, I wouldn't say they were the most exciting games we've ever cast, but hey-ho. It is still cool to see the Koreans versus the foreigners. Just wasn't quite convinced with the way that SpeCial really approached this one as those BCs. I mean, they'll try and fight Yamatos into just obviously dealing straight up damage and teleporting out low HP, but there's not going to be enough, and I think that was quite obvious for a couple of moments there. As Solar picks up that 2-0, advances through into the next rounds of Olimoleague, and we might cast a little bit more from this Olimoleague. Honestly, there's no other matchups which immediately shout out to me. It's like, ooh, we should look at that. I feel like we've done a lot of TvZ lately, and if we do another TvZ, I want to do the Fantasy Solar series from a different tournament. So, yeah, I kind of want to do some other matchups. So, I think this is going to be the only YouTube exclusive for this weekend, guys. Next couple of days, we're going to have the Lenovo Legion Invitational matches coming up, some great matches there. And then on Monday, we might have Solar Fantasy, and then Tuesday, it's a new Olimoleague. So, who knows what we get up on Tuesday for the YouTube content. So, as always, please do like, subscribe, comment down below. Always means a lot. Always does help us out here. And yeah, let's continue growing the YouTube, guys, because we are absolutely killing it the last few days. The last week or so especially. So let's keep that up. Let's keep putting the content out. You guys keep watching it. Seems like a good deal, right? Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. Have a great rest of your day.